Chapter 72 of Jin Ping Mei Embroidery Chongzhen Edition. Pan Jinlian picks and beats Ryer. Wang Sangwan pays homage to Simon King. The word says, regardless of the posture of folding shoulders, the heat and cold are different. When you are born, you will be erect and have children and grandchildren. The stone girl must be taught to become pregnant. Don't let your power decline once, because your own life will be worse than that of others. Who do you want your parents to marry? Turn round and don't recognize it. It doesn't matter that Simon King and He Kian who are on the road. Single table Wu Yunyang was at home, because Simon King went to Tokyo and saw that there were many women in the house. She was afraid of causing trouble, so she ordered the door to be closed and the yemen behind to be locked every night. None of the sisters came out. They were each doing acupuncture in their rooms. If Jingji wants to look for clothes upstairs, Yunyang will ask Chen Hong or Lai Anner to follow him out and in. Check the door regularly and everything is tight. Therefore, Pan Jinlian was not allowed to associate with Jingji. It's just that Rui's tongue is prepared by her breasts, and she only combines Qi with Ryer every day. One day, Yunyang packed out a lot of Simon Sing's clothes, singlets, and underwear, and taught Ryer and Han's sister-in-law how to wash them. Chen Mai didn't want to wash clothes here, so Qiuzhu asked him to borrow a mallet. Ryer was beating the clothes with Yingchun, but she said to him, the day before yesterday, you took a mallet, just used it, and you want it again. Well, Mrs. Han is here. You want to beat Dad's trousers and undershirt. Na Qiuzhu she came over and said to Chen Mai, it's easy to ask me to borrow it, but he won't accept it. Yingchun said to take it, but Ryer stopped him and refused. Chen Mai said, yeah, why are you waiting like this? I can't borrow a dry lamp in broad daylight, so I won't let you use it to wash my mother's feet. Qiuzhu, why don't you go back and ask them for help? Let's do it. Pan Jinlian was binding her feet on the king in the room. Suddenly, she heard this, and because she was filled with hatred and couldn't find the reason, she cursed. Why don't you ask him to go to your house? If you don't agree, it won't matter if you scold that slut. Chen Mai got angry and came to Li Pinger and said, why is that an outsider? I can't agree with you now. Another boss has come out. Ryer said, yeah, just put the hammer away and use it. Who can hold it here? The ant said angrily, show me the sweatshirt and silk trousers. Qiuzhu came to ask for it. I told you to beat your father's clothes a few times, and then he told me that he didn't want to come. Unexpectedly, Pan Jinlian followed immediately and scolded, you wife, don't talk. Your master died, and now you are the one in this house? Who can fuck your father if you can't tie him with clothes? Damn it, my wife is so dead. Why do you want to subdue me with this method? Ryer said, why don't you say this? Is it okay for us to take care of my father? Jinlian said, what a slut. What kind of woman can you say? Who is here to bring you tea and a blanket for me in the middle of the night? Who is it that you did it behind your back? You said I didn't know it? I'm not afraid even if you take it out of your belly. Rui said, seriously, those children are dead. Jinlian refused to listen. Hearing this, his heart became angry and his face flushed. He stepped forward and grabbed his wife's hair with his hands, and only used his hands to dig his belly. Fortunately, sister-in-law Han persuaded her to leave. Jinlian scolded, shameless whore, mocking whore. Every time I have time here, I call out, you come here, female man. Who are you in this room? You are here to wish my daughter-in-law a new birth. Come on, I'm not afraid of you. Ryer cried while twisting her hair and said, whenever I come here, I don't know what I want to do to make my daughter-in-law happy. I only know how to make breasts at my father's house. Jinlian said, you are breast. You are doing your breast thing. How come you act like a fox and act like a tiger in the house, and become a spirit? I have grown up to teach you how to play tricks. While he was cursing, he saw Meng Yulu slowly walking behind him and said, sixth sister, I invite you to play chess behind me. Why don't you go? But what are you doing here? He pulled his hand and sat down in his room, said, tell me, why did you get up? The golden lotus regained its strength. Chen Mai handed over the tea, drank some tea, and said, you see, my hands are cold because of the anger of this slut. I couldn't pick up the tea. I was in the room, trying to find shoes, and you asked Xiao Luan to come over to invite me. I said to lie down on the bed, but I didn't fall asleep. I said that you should take my bound feet and beat them out. For a long time, there was chaos, but Kyuju asked him for a stick. But he refused and took the stick away and said, I got one the day before yesterday. I've gone and asked for it again. Now I'm waiting to beat the clothes with my father. I became angry and asked Chun Mai to scold the slut. Since when have I been so bold to surrender? I'm here to teach you how to surrender. Who are you to marry me? You are worse than Lai Wang's daughter-in-law. I followed him, and he was so angry. I was scolded. It wasn't that sister-in-law Han was holding me in the middle with all her strength. I even took out the meat from the mouth of the shameless slut. The dead Lai Wanger thief's slave was so spoiled that he made me have a grudge against him. And even after he fell behind, he still piled it on me, saying that I was responsible for the slave. Now, this wife is gone again. He is so spoiled and spoiled for choice. Do you think you're going to show off your breasts? I can't stand those shameless people. I don't know where he died, but he was still lingering in that room. But when I came back, I looked at his shadow and bowed, mouth like someone chewing maggots, and I didn't know what to say to him in the evening. The slut quickly got up to serve him tea and covered him with a quilt. She was such an old slut. She just wanted to give him tea. Why do you ask? He wanted to put on a coat. So he shamelessly brought pieces of silk from the shop to cut a coat for him. You haven't seen it yet. On the day of the 7th day, his father went into the house to burn paper and saw the girl and his wife there. Laozier, who was on the king, didn't say a word, but said, don't keep the food and wine behind. Just eat them. The prostitute also said, is Dad coming? I can't wait any longer. I don't want him to be blinded by my 2 or 3 steps and become speechless. What kind of wife is this? Guapi, no matter what. I will take it. It turned out to be a man with a fiery eye. The man was holding the child and was not spying on him the other day. You're blind. Look, he looks different now. Another Li Pinger has been born. The eldest sister always pretends to be deaf and mute, but when anyone opens her mouth, she says it's not true. Yeah, just laugh. Because he said, how do you know such details? Jin Lian said, Nanjing Shen Wanzhen, Beijing withered willow tree. How come you don't know the name of the person in the shadow of the tree? Burying a dead body in the snow will disappear naturally. Yulu said, I said this wife has no man. So how did she become a man again? Jinlian said, the world is not clear. And you can't lie if you don't tell her. I want him. When I think about it, I have a hungry face, a thin skin, and a shrinking voice. After 2 years of food, you will become a man. Now I can't help but teach him to show off his dignity tomorrow. Who does he think he belongs to? Yulu said with a smile. You 6 girls have the right to be here. After that, he sat down. Once, the 2 went to the back to play chess. Exactly. Who is the descendant of the 3 lights? Everything has no roots but rises by itself. Don't talk too much. One afternoon, Simon King came to King County, instructing Bai Si, Wang Jing and their luggage to go home first. He sent He Qianhu to the Yamen and watched the mansion being tidied up and settled in before he rode home. Entering the back hall, Wu Yunyang then scooped out water to cleanse the noodles, then ordered the maid to place a table in the courtyard, fill the stove with incense, and make a wish to the heaven and earth. Yunyang asked, why did you make a wish? Simon King said, don't mention it. I lost my life and came home. Yesterday, November 23rd, just after crossing the Yellow River, I went to Bajiao Town, Yishui County, and encountered the wind was strong, the sand and rocks were confusing, and it was late. There was no one around for 100 miles, and everyone was panicking. There were so many packs, and they were afraid that a thief would come out. When they arrived at the ancient temple, what happened? We were so poor that we didn't even have a light at night, so we just ate some bean porridge. The next day, when the wind stopped, we got up. Although it was hot the day before, it was colder this time. The weather has caused a lot of fear. Fortunately, the land is still there. What will happen if we encounter such storms in the Yellow River? I made a wish on the way to sacrifice pigs and sheep to the heaven and earth on the first day of the 12th lunar month. Yunang asked again, why don't you come home in your head? But what are you doing in the Yamen? Simon King said, Jia Longshi has been promoted to the direct command, and he can't come. The newly promoted is a craftsman, supervisor, eunuch, nephew He Qianhu, named Youngshu, post-punishment. less than 20 years old. A young boy born out of Shire didn't know. His eunuch asked me again and again to watch over and teach him in everything. What does he know? He now has 1,200 taels of silver. And I made him to buy the house in Jialongshi. His family did not move in until the Jia family moved there the day before yesterday. Whoever left Feng and him. He gave the money to General Lin and said to Lieutenant Zhu in the hall that he was willing to be sentenced to another 3 years with the rank of commander. Lieutenant Zhu came and said to the master, "Let the master go." It couldn't have been more difficult. If it weren't for the in-laws Jai's efforts to keep me in the open space, they wouldn't have blamed me when I left. I don't know who told him. I'm not telling you that you act in a panic. And if you do this or that for something wrong, it's like trying to get rich by trying to get rich. What he is doing secretly is so good. You don't know yet. Simon King said again. Master Jia is here. Please ask me to look after his house sooner or later. And you can buy some gifts and go away. Yunyang said. His wife's birthday is on the 2nd day of the 1st lunar month. So let's just get over it. From now on, you should change your crazy behavior. As the saying goes, when you meet someone, you should speak clearly to 3 points. But don't throw everything away. There is still a wife. Don't tell the world about your inner and outer feelings. Just as he was talking, Diane came to say, Beyonce asked, Dad, do you want to go to Mr. Shia's house? Simon King said, teach him how to eat. Diane agreed and went. Li Jiar, Meng Yulu, Sun Zue, Pan Jinlian, and the eldest sister all came to see Wan Fu, ask questions, and sit with them. Simon King remembered that Li Pinger was there when he returned from his previous trip to Tokyo. As he walked to his room, he bowed to his coffin and shed a few tears. Ryer, Yingshun, and Shuchen all kowtowed forward. Yunyang then asked Xiao Yu to stay behind, set up a meal, and ordered for taels of silver to be given to those who followed the pony, and took the post back to thank Zhou for guarding. He also asked Lai Xing'er to kill half a pig, half a lamb, 40 pounds of white flour, a bag of white rice, a jar of wine, 2 legs of fire-smoked, 2 geese, 10 chickens, and a lot of oil, salt, soy sauce and vinegar. Sent him off with Ikianhu. Another cook was called to agree. While they were doing things in the hall, Qin Tunger suddenly came in and said, Master Wen and second Dad Ying are here to visit. Simon King quickly invited Wen Shukai and the Earl to come. The two of them bowed to each other again and again, saying that they had worked hard through hardships and hardships. Simon King also said, Meng Ergong looks after the house in the morning and evening. The Earl said, when I got up early, I suddenly heard the chirping of magpies in the room. My servant first said, I'm afraid that a high official will come home. Why don't you go and take a look? I said, Brother, I've been up since the 12th, and it's not even half a month yet. How can I come so quickly? My servant said, let's see if we're coming. Teach me how to dress and come home. Congratulations. Seeing a lot of food and wine on the table, he asked, who are you sending this to? My colleague Mr. He has come with me all the way. I have not yet arrived. I am staying in the Yemen. I will send a letter to him for the next trip. If there is no one else, I will invite you and Uncle Wu to accompany him. The Earl said, one more thing. Uncle Wu and my brother are officials, and Mr. Wen is wearing a kerchief. How can I, with my little hat, sit with him? I don't know who he thinks I am. He won't laugh at me, Simon King said with a smile. I'll lend you the satin loyalty scarf I bought, and when he asks you, just say he's my eldest son. Okay. After saying that, everyone laughed. The Earl said, seriously, my head is 8 inches and 3 inches, and I can't wear yours. When Shukai said, students are also 8 inches and 3 inches, so how about wearing a student square scarf with an old man? Simon King said, don't lend it to him, old gentleman. He's used to borrowing it tomorrow. He's going to work as an official in the Ministry of Rights, and he's here to pester you again. When Shukai said with a smile, old sir, it's so easy to talk about that even I'm in trouble. After a while, he took it. Serve tea. When Shukai asked, Jia Gong has been appointed to the capital, so he won't come. Simon King said, he has become a high official, holding a book, wearing a robe, and wielding a cane. What is he going to do with such a gorgeous appointment? After a while, after reading the post, he carried Chang out and taught Diane to deliver it. Simon King took the scholar Wen and the earl to sit on the heated kang in the side room. He also asked the piano boy to go to the courtyard and ask for young boys, Wu Hui, Zheng Chun, Xiao Feng and Zuo Shen, to come and serve him tomorrow morning. After a while, a table was set up to accompany the two of them to have wine. Simon King said, "Get another pair of bell chopsticks and ask your brother-in-law to come and sit down." After a long time, Chen Jingji came over, bowed and sat down horizontally. The four of them poured wine around the fire and talked about the things they had been surprised to hear along the way. The earl said, "Brother, you have a good heart. One blessing can overcome 100 disasters. There are villains, and they will naturally disappear for a while." When Xiukai said, "A good man has been in the country for 100 years, and he can also defeat the bad and kill him. Mr. Zhu Dao, Mr. Wang is busy with the king's affairs, and God will not harm good people." Simon King asked, "Is there nothing going on at home?" Jingji said, "There is nothing going on at home. It's just that father and from the Ministry of Industry came to ask about it." "Oh no, I came to ask yesterday, and I said I haven't come home yet." Just as he was talking, he suddenly came to report, "The Yemen magistrate and all the officials are here to report the matter." Simon King immediately stood in the hall and asked him to come in. The two of them knelt down and asked, "When will Dad take office? How much money will be spent on the official bank account?" Simon King said, "You just have to keep things in order as usual." Ling Shi said, "Last year, only Dad took office, but now Dad has become a full-time official, and Dad he has taken up the new post. Both things are different from the old ones." Simon King said, "In that case, just give him 10 taels of silver." The two of them went down together. Simon King called back again and said, "How about you ask Father he to choose a date for taking office?" The two said, "Father he has chosen the 26th day." Simon King said, "In that case, you can just serve me every time." The two of them went. It was Mr. Kiao who came to visit Daoxi. Simon Qingli refused to sit down, so he got up to have tea. Simon King came in and drank with the two of them until they dispersed under the lantern. Simon King went to Yunyang's room to rest for the night. The next day, the family prepared wine to welcome He Qianhu. When Cao had heard that Simon King was coming home, and told Wang Sangguan, and sent a letter to invite him, Simon King bought a pair of pig trotters, 2 fresh fish, 2 roast ducks, and a jar of southern wine, and sent Diane to deliver them as a birthday gift for his wife. He rewarded Diane with 3 coins of silver. Needless to say, wine was set up in the main hall, with dazzling brocade screens and bright tables and chairs. Wu Daju, Ying Boju, and Wen Shukai all came early. Simon King sat with them for tea and asked someone to invite He Qianhu. After a while, Xiao Youer came up and kowtowed. Boju asked, "Brother, why didn't you invite Li Ming today?" Simon King said, "If he doesn't come to my house, I can't invite him." As they were talking, Ping hurriedly took a letter and reported, "Mr. Zhou from the marshal's mansion came to pay a visit and got off his horse." Wu Daju, Wen Xiukai, and Ying Boju were all hiding in the west wing. Simon King came out in his official hat and robe and greeted him in the hall. After the greetings, he talked about his promotion and congratulations. Simon King thanked the others for their horses. Then the host and the guests sat down separately. Zhou Xiaobai asked about the court meeting in Beijing, and Simon King told him everything. Zhou Xiaobai said, "If Long Shi doesn't come, he will definitely send someone to take his family to Beijing." Simon King said, "Even if he does, it will take a month. Now Chief, he is temporarily living in the government office. It was also my suggestion that Mr. Xia's house be given to him." Xiaobai said, "That's even better." Seeing the table set up in the hall, he asked, "Who are you inviting today?" Simon King said, "Let's have a drink to greet Mr. He. It's not right for colleagues." The two drank tea, and Zhou Xiaobai stood up and said, "I will join you and the two gentlemen to congratulate you later." Simon King said, "How dare I bother you? Thank you for your kindness." He bowed and went out, mounted his horse and left. Simon King came back, took off his clothes, and accompanied the 3 people in the study to set up dinner. Captain He arrived in the afternoon. After Wu Daju and the others had finished greeting each other, they exchanged greetings. After changing tea, they all undressed. Captain He saw that Simon King's family was well off, and the banquet was well prepared. for young actors played silver zithers, ivory boards, and jade ruins, and pipa, and passed wine to the seats. They drank until the next watch, when Captain He got up and went to the government office. Wu Daju, Ying Boju, and when Shu Kai also left, Simon King sent the young actors out, told them to pack up their things, and went to Jinlian's room in front. The woman was in the room, applying rouge and powder, redoing her makeup, and bathing with perfume. She was waiting for Simon King to come into her room. She smiled and stepped forward to undress him, and quickly asked Chun Mai to make tea for him, and then sent him to bed to rest. Their bodies were close to each other in the quilt, and their breasts were pressed against each other on the pillow. When the woman was making love, she was full of charm. After Simon King pulled her out, he was so in tune with her that he couldn't fall asleep. He said goodbye to her on the pillow. After they had sex, they were still not satisfied, so she played the flute for him. The woman wanted to tie Simon King's heart, and she had been away from him for half a month. She was so lustful that she wanted to get into his belly. She played that word all night and never let it go. Simon King wanted to get off the bed to urinate, but the woman didn't let him go. She said, "My dear, how much urine do you have? Pour it into my mouth, and I will swallow it for you. It will save you from getting cold. It's worth it if you warm up your body and go down to the bathroom." Simon King was even more delighted when he heard it, and he shouted, "My dear, who loves me as much as you do?" So he really urinated in the woman's mouth. The woman took it in her mouth and slowly swallowed it all. Simon King asked, "Is it delicious?" Jinlian said, "It's a little salty. Do you have some fragrant tea for me?" Simon King said, "The fragrant tea is in my white silk jacket. You can take it yourself." The woman pulled his sleeve to the bedside, took out a few and put them in her mouth, and then stopped. "It is just like this. The minister is not as thirsty as Xiangru, so I specially gave him a cup of golden stem dew." Dear readers, listen, most concubines are to encourage their husbands to do anything, even if they have to humble themselves and endure humiliation. They're not ashamed. If the husband's wife is upright, how could she do that? That night, Simon King and the woman lingered without restraint. The next morning, he went to the government office with He Qianhu to take office, and had a public banquet. The musicians of the two courts played music to accompany him. He returned home in the afternoon, and the troops immediately brought the table. Wang Sangwan sent someone to invite him early. Simon King just got ready, and the attendants came to report, "Old man and from the Ministry of Works is here to visit." Simon King, who was in a panic, dressed up and went out to greet him. Dr. An, who was paid as a temple secretary, wore a gold-studded belt and a cap with a white pheasant patch. He was accompanied by many officials, all smiling, as they walked into the hall to exchange greetings, congratulate each other, and sit down as host and guest. Dr. An said, "I have sent people to ask several times, and they said Siquan has not returned yet." Simon King said, "That's right. People in Beijing have to wait until the court is summoned before they get up and come back." After a while, after drinking tea, Dr. An said, "I have something to ask. Kai Xiaodong, the ninth son of Mr. Kai, is here to pay homage to the emperor in Beijing. He received a letter the day before yesterday and will arrive sooner or later. I, Song Songquan, Jin Yunye, and Huang Taiyu are the four of us. We would like to host a banquet at your house to invite him. Do you agree?" Simon King said, "How dare I disobey the old gentleman's order? When is the appointment?" Dr. An said, "On the 27th. Tomorrow I will send a member over. Please ask Shang to take care of it. It shows your deep love." After saying that, he served another cup of tea, said goodbye, got up, got on his horse, and left. Simon King went out and went to Wang Zhaoxuan's house to attend the banquet. When he arrived at the door, he first handed in a visiting card. Wang Sangwan came out to greet him and went to the hall to exchange greetings. The plaque on the front of the hall was bestowed with the golden inscription Shizang Hall. On the doors on both sides, it was written, "Tall trees are ancient and weathered by wind and frost, mountains and rivers. Stone belts are new." Wang Sangwan and Simon King finished their greetings, and Simon King was seated. He then placed a chair beside him. After a moment, tea was brought, and they passed the tea to each other, and the left and right took it away. They talked to each other for a while, and then arranged the wine banquet and served the wine. It turned out that Wang Sangwan had called 2 young actors to play and sing. Simon King said, "Please let the old lady come out to pay her respects." Wang Sangwan was panicked and told the left and right to talk to the back. After a while, she came out and said, "Please let the old man see you in the back." Wang Sangwan asked Simon King to go in. Simon King said, "Xianxi, you lead the way first." Then he went straight into the central hall. Lin had already worn a head full of pearls and jade, a bright red robe with long sleeves, a gold-studded jade belt around her waist, and a black brocade flower skirt, which was smeared like a silver figure. Simon King bowed and said, "Madam, please come up." Lin said, "You are the guest. Please come up." After a while, the 2 people kowtowed to each other. Lin said, "I didn't know what was good for me. I offended you the other day. I am grateful to you for punishing those people. Today, I prepared a cup of wine. Please come over. I cut out a thank you. How dare you give me a gift? I am disrespectful and ashamed to accept it." Simon King said, "How dare I went to Tokyo for business and missed the birthday celebration with the old lady. I just gave this small gift to the old lady as a reward." Seeing that Mrs. Wen was beside him, he said, "Old Wen, please get a pair of cups and wait for me and Mrs. Wen to pass a cup of birthday wine." At the same time, he called Diane to come up. It turned out that Simon King had prepared a set of clothes with gold all over the floor in his felt tent, and he put it on a plate and presented it. When Mrs. Lin saw it, the gold color was dazzling and she was full of joy. Mrs. Wen immediately brought out the gold cups and silver plates. Wang Sangwan wanted to ask Xiao Yu to bring in the musical instrument to sing. Lin said, "Why did you ask him to come in? He was just answering outside." At that moment, Simon King finished drinking, and Lin also returned a cup to thank Simon King. Then Wang Sangwan and Simon King passed the wine to each other. Just as Simon King was about to return the greeting, Lin said, "Please stand up, sir, and accept his greeting." Simon King said, "I dare not. How can I do that?" Lin said, "My lord, how can you say that? You are of such a high rank, but you are not worthy of being his father. My son has been out of school since he was young, and has never been with a good person. If you are willing to have mercy on him and teach him to be a good person in everything, I will let him worship you as his godfather today. But if he does something wrong, let you teach me, and I will not cover for him." Simon King said, "Although what you said is true, your son is virtuous and smart. He is young now, and this is a good opportunity for him to practice the right way. In the future, he will naturally become more open-minded and change for the better. You don't have to mind it." Then she asked Simon King to turn around, and Wang Sangwan held the cup, passed 3 cups of wine, and accepted his for greetings. After the wine was served, Simon King also turned down to bow to Lin and thank her. Lin smiled and returned the greetings. From then on, Wang Sangwan called Simon King his father. It is true, he often oppresses the good and deceives the good, pretending to be evil. There is another poem to lament. Men and women have never been paid, and it is really shameful to be coquettish and adulterous. Sangwan did not understand the meaning, and even kowtowed to his mother. After the wine was served, Lin told Wang Sangwan, "Please sit in front, sir, and change your clothes." Diane brought Zhongjing towel to change, after a while, and sat down. Xiao Yu played and sang, and the kitchen servant came up to cut the dishes. Diane served with rewards. After 5 dishes were cut, 2 sets of songs were sung, and the candles were lit. Simon King stood up and said goodbye. Wang Sangwan kept asking for permission again and again, and invited him to his academy. Inside the 3 small pavilions, flowers and bamboos were shaded, and cultural relics were elegant. There was a plaque on the front with gold powder paper, which read Sanguine Poetry Boat. For ancient paintings were hung on the 4 walls. Simon King asked, "Who is Sanguine?" Wang Sangwan just avoided answering. After a while, he said, "It's my son's cheap name." Simon King said nothing. He lifted the high pot and threw the pot to drink again. 4 little actors were playing music and singing beside him. Lin was busy sending vegetables and fruit dishes to the back. At the second watch, Simon King was half drunk. He got up, rewarded the little actors and the kitchen servants, and said goodbye to go home. When he got home, He went straight to Jinlian's room. It turned out that the woman was still awake. She had just taken off her crown, tied up her bun, and put on light makeup. She was in the room brewing tea and waiting for the golden lion. Seeing Simon King come in, she was extremely happy. She hurried forward to take the clothes and asked Chen Mai to order a cup of sparrow tongue bud tea for Simon King. Simon King ate. Then Chen Mai took off her boots and belt and sent her to bed. The woman took off her jewelry under the lamp, changed into slippers, and went to bed with her head and legs crossed. Simon King put one arm on the woman's head and held her in his arms, like soft jade and warm fragrance. Their breasts pressed together, their faces touched, and they smacked each other's tongues. Soon, the sweet saliva melted into the heart, and the spiritual connection was spring. The woman kept playing with his penis with her hands. Simon King then asked, "My child, I'm not at home. Do you miss me?" The woman said, "You've been gone for half a month, and I've been relieved since then. The nights are long, and I can't sleep alone. I asked why I kept the bed warm, but I was still cold. My legs were cold and I couldn't stretch them, so I had to curl them up, enduring the pain. I waited in vain, and I don't know how many tears I shed on the pillow." Later, Chen Mai, the little meat, saw me sighing and teasing me to play chess in the evening. When it was time to get up, my mother and I slept on the same kang with our legs together. My brother, "This is how I feel. I wonder how you feel." Simon King said, "You're so smooth talking. Although this family has them, everyone knows that I pay more attention to you." The woman said, "Come on. You're still trying to fool me. You're eating from the bowl and looking at the pot. And you say I don't know? I think you and Lai Wang's daughter-in-law are like honey and oil. And you ignore me when I come." Later, Li Ping'er gave birth to a child, and she saw me as a black-eyed chicken. "Where have you gone today? Only I am still honest. You are like a willow flower in the wind, rolling up and down, and now you are rising up to be a thief like Rui. No matter what he asks, you are just a wet nurse." Seeing that her husband is leaving, she is a living wife. You don't fight for her, and tomorrow you will let your husband herd sheep at the door. You are an official, and you want to spread it out? Look at this thief and whore. The day before yesterday, you went there, and Chen Mai and the two of them were like a club. They yelled and quarreled with me, and didn't let me say a word. Simon King said, "Well, my son, no matter what he asks, he is just a subordinate. How dare he dare to contradict you? You can get past him if you are high, but he dares not get past you if you are low." The woman said, "Yeah, that's a nice thing to say. Without Li Ping'er, he will take over. I'll say to him like you, if you serve me well, I will give you my share of the family property." "Do you really mean that?" Shimen King said, "Don't be suspicious. I never said that. Forgive him and I will make him kowtow to you tomorrow to apologize." The woman said, "I don't want him to apologize either, and I won't let you sleep in that room." Shimen King said, "I sleep over there for no other reason than I can't get over Sister Li's feelings. I am here to watch over the spirit. Who has anything to do with him?" The woman said, "I don't believe you. The person has been dead for 100 days. Why are you still watching over the spirit? That room is not for watching over the spirit. It's for the rice warehouse." The bells rang in the first half of the night, and the maids listened to the bangs in the second half. Shimen King got anxious after hearing these words. He hugged her neck and kissed her, saying, "You little slut. You are so pretentious." So he made him hang his body over and go to the other side to ask for fire. He inserted his penis into her vagina from behind, held her buttocks, and fanned her with all his strength, making loud sounds. At the same time, he made the woman call out to everyone, asking, "Are you afraid of me or not? If I dare to control you again." The woman said, "You are such a bastard. I will never let you go if I don't care about you. I know you can't get rid of this whore. Wait until tomorrow and ask me, and then I will let you go. If she asks you for something, you must tell me, but you are not allowed to steal it from her. If you don't agree, I will find out and see if I will make a fuss. I will just expel this whore, and it won't make a big difference." And seeing Li Ping'er as background, "I almost beat me into a concubine's house if you fooled me. You are a rotten peach, a bean sprout. What's the use of the bundle? I have become a bit cunning now." Simon King laughed. Then the two bad belled rain and clouds, entangled until 3 o'clock in the morning. It is exactly. Rain and smoke are rare in the world, and the enchanting body seems to be unable to support. I tell my heart all night, and keep the east wind from letting me go. The two slept side by side until dawn. The woman's lust was not satisfied, so she kept playing with the penis. She immediately played with the handle of the whisk and shouted, "Dear father, I want to sleep on you." She climbed on Simon King and poured candles on him, then rubbed his neck, and asked Simon King to hold her waist with both hands, holding it tightly. He tried his best to pull it up, while climbing on him and rubbing it again. The penis gradually sank to the root, and the rest was blocked by the support and could not enter. The woman said, "My dear father, wait for me to make a white silk belt for you during the day. You put some of the medicine that the monk gave you in it, and I will hang the long belts on it. When you go to sleep, you tie it to the root, and then use these two belts to tie it to the waist at the back. Tie it tightly, and it is soft, and it can fit all the things, but it is not as strong as this hard support, which hurts people." Simon King said, "My son, you do it. The medicine is in the porcelain box. You can put it in yourself." The woman said, "Come at night. Let's try it." "Okay." So the two played for a while. Diane came in with a note and asked Chun Mai, "Has dad gotten up yet?" Olden sent someone to deliver the money. He also brought in 2 jars of wine and 4 pots of flowers and trees. Chun Mai said, "Dad hasn't gotten up yet. Tell him to wait." Diane said, "He rarely takes shortcuts, and he has to rush to the Shinhaku gate to reply." Unexpectedly, Simon King heard it in the room, called Diane through the window to ask him something, took the note in, opened it and read it. It said, "I am sending for envelopes of money, totaling 8 taels. Only the table and banquet are for sheodeng, and the rest is for drinking. I hope you will pay attention to it, which shows my deep love. In addition, there are 4 pots of seasonal flowers for appreciation and 2 bottles of Zhejiang wine to help with the needs of entertaining guests. I hope you will accept them. Thank you." Simon King read it, stood up, did not comb his hair, wore a felt scarf and a velvet coat and walked out of the hall, and asked Leody to come in. He handed over the money. Simon King saw 4 pots of flowers, 1 pot of red plum, 1 pot of white plum, 1 pot of jasmine, 1 pot of magnolia, and 2 jars of southern wine, and was very happy. He quickly accepted it. He sent a reply and rewarded the person who came with 5 cents of silver. So he asked, "Old men, can you come at our time tomorrow? Do you need actors?" The person said, "Come early. Actors you see salt." After saying this, he sent her away. Simon King ordered his attendants to carry the flowers and plants and place them in the study room of Kang Shenwo. At the same time, he asked Diane to call the actors, and at the same time he exchanged silver with Lioner for the comprador. That day was also Mang Yulu's birthday celebration, and the little actress in the courtyard was invited to play and sing in the evening. Pressed down one head, but Ying Boju was at home, took 5 pieces of paper, and asked Ying Bao to hold the box, and went to the house opposite Simon King to ask when Shukai to write a letter of invitation. He wanted to invite Simon King's 5 wives to celebrate the full moon at home on the 28th. Just as he went out and turned the corner, he saw someone behind him shouting, "Second father, please come back." The Earl turned his head and saw that it was Li Ming, and stopped. Li Ming walked up to him and asked, "Where are you going?" "Second father." The Earl said, "I have something to do with Master Wen." Li Ming said, "I have something to say when I get home." Then he saw an idle man behind him carrying a box, so the Earl had to go back to the main hall. Li Ming kowtowed quickly, brought the box in and put it down, and opened it to find 2 roast ducks and 2 bottles of old wine. He said, "I don't have much. These are small things for filial piety to second father to reward people. I have something to say to second father." He knelt on the ground and couldn't get up. The Earl raised his hand and said, "Silly boy, if you have something to say, just say it. Why did you buy gifts?" Li Ming said, "I have been living in father's house since I was a child. I have been promised for several years. Now father is taking care of others and does not need me anymore. As for the affairs of Guichi, I really don't know anything about them. Now father blames them and even blames me. I have been wrong and have nowhere to complain. So I come to complain to second father. Second father, please come to the house to see father and say something good for me. It's just that Guichi made some mistakes, which has nothing to do with me. It's not a big deal if father is angry with me, but my colleagues are bullying me more and more. The Earl said, you didn't go to the house to promise for a while. Li Ming said, I didn't go. The Earl said, you said that you had a banquet to welcome old man he yesterday and invited Wu Hui, Zheng Chun, Xiao Feng and Zuo Shen to promise. I was wondering why I didn't see you. I asked your father and he said, he didn't come. I didn't please go to him. Do you still have to jump? Dad said for Xiao Xiao. And the little ones came with the second father. Earl said, I don't say it. I have never been able to do it for you. Li Ming said, the second dad does not accept this gift, and the young one dare not go. When he entered the gate of the academy, he rang the doorbell and asked, is Mr. Quickshuan home? When Xiu Kai was writing a note under the window of the study, and he hurriedly replied, please come in and sit down. The boy opened the door, and the Earl was sitting in the main room. When Xiu Kai came out to meet him, and after a polite conversation, he asked him to sit down and said, old man, you got up early. Where are you going? The Earl said, I dare to bother you to write a few invitation letters. On the 28th, when the child is 1 month old, please come to the house and sit down. When Xiu Kai said, where are the invitations? I will write them later. The Earl immediately asked Yingbao to take out 5 invitations and handed them over. When Xiu Kai took it to his room and wrote only 2, then he saw the chess boy hurriedly coming and saying, Master Wen, write 2 more notes, the name of the eldest lady, to invite the mother-in-law Kyo and the eldest aunt. The first time, the piano boy came to get the 2 notes from the Han aunt, and the second Aunt Ming outside the door. Have you sent them away? When Xiu Kai said, your brother-in-law has been watching and has been away for half a day. The chess boy said, Master Wen wrote these 2, and wrote for more to invite the 4th Aunt Huang, the eldest Aunt Fu, the eldest Aunt Han, and the wife of the Gan shop assistant. I will send Lion to get them. Soon he was sent away. Lion came to get the 4 notes. The Earl asked, is your father at home? Did he go to the government office? Lion said, my father didn't go to the government office today. He was in the hall watching the gifts. When Xiu Kai said, the old man was late for the banquet at Wang's house yesterday. The Earl asked about Wang's house. And when Xiu Kai said, he was invited to Xuanfu, the Earl knew the reason. After a long time, Lion waited for the invitation to come back. And then he and the Earl finished writing. The Earl immediately brought Li Ming over here. Simon King had disheveled hair and was just in the hall accepting gifts, sending out replies, and ranging tables next to him. Seeing the Earl coming, he bowed and asked him to sit down. The Earl thanked him for his kindness the day before and asked, why did you order this table? Simon King told him about Dr. N's request to host the banquet and invite Prefect Kai. The Earl asked, will there be actors or actresses tomorrow? Simon King said, call all the young men from Haiyan, and I have 4 actresses ready to attend. The Earl asked, brother, which 4? Simon King said, Wu Hui, Xiao Feng, Zheng Chun, and Zuo Shen. The Earl asked, brother, why don't you use Li Ming? Simon King said, he already has a better wife, so why would he need me here? The Earl said, brother, why do you say that? He only dared to come if you called him. I don't know that you have always been angry with him, but it's none of his business. How would he know what third aunt is doing? Don't be wronged. This morning he came to me and told me in tears, don't mention my sister is in my father's house. I promised to stay for a few years, but now there is someone else, and I am gone. He repeatedly cursed and didn't know a word about his third aunt. If you are angry with him, it won't be difficult for him. What big soup does he have? If you have any intention, how can he bear it? Then he told Li Ming, come here and tell your father in person. Why are you hiding? Since ancient times, ugly daughters-in-law cannot avoid seeing their parents-in-law. Li Ming stood by the lattice, lowered his head and kept his feet together, watching the 2 people talking like a ghost in a secluded hall. Hearing the count calling him, he walked in quickly, knelt on the ground, kowtowed and said, Dad, please come again. I know a word about what's going on over there. I was crushed by my car and horses, and was punished to death by the officials. Dad, you have been so kind to me in the past that my family will never be able to repay you even if they were torn to pieces. If it weren't for your anger today, I would be ridiculed by my colleagues, and they would bully me. Where could I find a master? After saying this, he cried loudly and knelt on the ground, unable to get up. The Earl said, "Well, brother, you are just looking at him for the sake of justice. A noble man does not see the faults of a villain. Don't say that he has no fault. Even if he has faults, you should forgive him since he is like this." He called Li Ming. "Come here. It has been the custom since ancient times to wear green clothes and hug black pillars. Now that your father has said it, he will not be angry with you. You should be more careful in the future." Li Ming said, "Second father is right. We must correct our mistakes when we know them. I will know it in the future." Simon King pondered for a while and said, "Since your second father has said it again and again, I will not be angry with you anymore. Stand up and agree." The Earl said, "Why don't you cut out quickly?" Li Ming kowtowed quickly and stood aside. The Earl just asked Ying Bao to take out 5 invitations and handed them to Simon King, saying, "On the 28th, my son's full month is coming. I invite all the sisters-in-law to come to my house and come and visit." After reading it, Simon King told Lianer, "Take the box and send it to my aunt. I can't go the day after tomorrow. To be honest with you, tomorrow is your third aunt's birthday, and Dr. In is having a banquet at home. On the 28th, he wants to visit Lady Xia's wife. How can I go?" The Earl said, "Brother, you are killing people. If my sister-in-law doesn't go, who will the fruits in the garden depend on? I will go to the house and invite them myself." After a while, Lion came out with an empty box. My aunt said, "Please come back often." "I know." The Earl handed the box to Ying Bao and said with a smile, "Brother, just coax me up. If my sister-in-law doesn't go, I will knock my head and smash it. But at least I will invite my sister-in-law to come and visit." Simon King told the Earl, "Don't go yet. Wait for me to comb my hair, and we will have dinner together." After saying that, he went to the back. The Earl then said to Li Ming, "What's the matter? I didn't say that just now. He was really angry with you. He has money, so he just said a few words. As the saying goes, don't hit a smiling face with a fist." Nowadays, there are still flatterers with a large capital to do business. There is still a little bit of friendliness. If you insist on being stubborn, no one will care about you. You must be flexible and live like water to make money. If you hit the east wall, others will eat and be full, but you will still be hungry. You have promised him for several years, but you still don't know his nature? Tomorrow, let your sister Gui come quickly, and we will do it for one. Celebrate Sanyang's birthday and give him a gift, and everything will be done in one day." Li Ming said, "Second father is right. I will go to tell Sanyang when I get home." As he said that, Lion set the table and said, "Please sit down, second father, and I will come out." After a while, Simon King came out with his hair done and sat with the Earl, asking him, "You haven't seen Lao Sun and Chu Mazi for days." The Earl said, "I asked him to come, and he knew that I was angry with him. I said, 'You are very kind to me and take care of me.'" That day, the grasshoppers and ants flew over like a madman. "What can you do?" He swore that he would never go with Wang's servant again. He said that I came to his house for a drink yesterday. He didn't even know. Simon King said, "Yesterday he was like this and that. He prepared a big feast for me, and he acknowledged me as his godfather. He came until the second watch. Why don't you associate with him anymore? It doesn't bother me, so let him be. What can I do to him? I am not really his father, so I can't control him." The Earl said, "Brother, what you said is absolutely right. They should come to you in a day or two to pay their respects and explain." Simon King said, "You asked them to come. Why would they pay their respects?" At the same time, Lion brought food, which was nothing but delicious dishes. Simon King ate porridge and the Earl ate. After the meal, Simon King asked, "Have the 2 little boys come?" Lion said, "They have been here for the day." Simon King asked him and Li Ming to eat together. Han Zuo and Xiao Jin came forward, bowed, and went downstairs to eat. After a long time, the Earl stood up and said, "I'll go. I don't know how my family is waiting for me. It's the hardest for a young family to work, from under the stove to the front of the main hall. Don't you want to buy those?" Simon King said, "Go and do your work, come and sit in the evening, and celebrate your third mother's birthday and bow to her. It's also your filial piety." The Earl said, "This one must come, and asked their roommate to send a favor. After saying that, he laughed. It is just like this. Wine is deep and affectionate, and the conversation between close friends is long. Don't let each other down, and come to the thatched cottage tomorrow.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.